You think you have time. That is the most dangerous lie you will ever tell yourself. I am 92 years old, and I am standing at the very edge of the horizon. From here, I can see the truth clearly. Most people don't die at 80 or 90. They die at 40. They just don't bury them for another half-century. They bury their dreams, their health, and their spirit in exchange for a 5-year plan that never arrives. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on the illusions of career, money, and later. If you're over 50, pay attention. Your life isn't running out. It's running empty. Let's fix that before the clock stops. I am 92 years old, and if you are watching this, you are likely much younger than me. Perhaps you are in your 60s, feeling the first real creaks in your bones. Or maybe you're in your 40s, convinced that you are in the prime of your life. I have a perspective that you cannot yet buy, and I want to give it to you for free. When you reach my age, the world stops being a collection of objects and starts being a collection of moments. I look back now, and the things I thought were solid, my career, my bank balance, my reputation, feel like smoke. They are gone. What remains are the things I ignored because I thought I had later to deal with them. The most arrogant delusion a human being can hold is the belief that time is a renewable resource. We treat our days like we treat the air we breathe, as if there will always be more. But I am here to tell you that the tank is smaller than you think, and it's leaking. I want to tell you about my friend Jack. Jack was the personification of the 5-year plan. He was a brilliant man, a lawyer who worked 80 hours a week because he had a vision. He told me, "Frank, when I hit 45, I'm retiring. I've got the cabin picked out. I'm going to paint. I'm going to travel the Mediterranean." Jack lived his entire life in the future. He didn't eat lunch, he fueled. He didn't have hobbies. He had networking opportunities. He treated his wife like a roommate he'd catch up with in 5 years. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, while filing a brief for a client he didn't even like, Jack's heart simply stopped. He was 42. He never saw the cabin. He never touched a paintbrush. He died with all his music still inside him. Jack's mistake wasn't working hard. It was believing that he could bargain with the universe for a later that was never promised. There is no later. There is only the breath you are taking right now. When you look at this hourglass, what do you see? Most people focus on the sand at the bottom, the past. They obsess over what they've lost or what they've done. Others focus on the sand at the top, worrying about how much is left. But the life is in the neck. The life is in the narrow passage where the sand is actually moving. That is where you exist. We spend so much energy trying to widen that neck, trying to slow the sand down with expensive creams, surgeries, and supplements. But the sand moves at the same speed regardless of how much money you have. I have seen billionaires die in the same sterile hospital rooms as paupers. Time is a flat rate. It charges the king and the beggar the same price for a sunset. If you are waiting for the perfect time to be happy, to be healthy, or to be present, you are waiting for a train that isn't coming to your station. Let's talk about the trap of materialism. I have spent 9 decades watching people kill themselves to buy things they don't need to impress people they don't like. I call it future trash. Look around your living room right now. That expensive television, that designer sofa, the gadgets in your kitchen. In 50 years, every single bit of it will be in a landfill. It will be crushed, rusted, and forgotten. Yet, we trade the literal hours of our lives, the limited sand in our hourglass, to acquire it. I've never seen a U-Haul following a hearse. You can't take it with you, and more importantly, it doesn't provide the comfort you think it will when you're facing the end. When I lie in bed at night now, I don't think about the Mercedes I drove in 1985. I think about the way the wind fell on my face during a walk I almost didn't take because I was too busy working. In 1979, I was named Businessman of the Year in my city. I remember the banquet vividly. The crystal chandeliers, the clinking of wine glasses, the standing ovation. I felt like a god. I walked onto that stage and accepted a heavy brass trophy, and for 10 minutes, I was the center of the universe. But when I went home that night, my children were already asleep. They hadn't seen me for 3 days. My wife was awake, but she was silent, her eyes reflecting a loneliness that no trophy could fill. I had won the world, but I was losing my home. A career is a transaction, not a relationship. It will replace you in a week, but your family will miss you for a lifetime. That trophy is currently in a box in my garage, covered in cobwebs. It has no value. The missed bedtime stories, however, are a debt I can never repay. The first step to truly living before you go is to kill your ego. We spend our lives curated by the fear of what they will think. We don't start the business. We don't wear the bright clothes. We don't dance at the wedding because we are terrified of judgment. Here is the secret from a 92-year-old. Nobody is looking at you. They are all too busy worrying about who is looking at them. Your ego is a prison guard that you pay to keep you locked up. It tells you that you have a reputation to protect, but your reputation is just a collection of stories in other people's heads, stories you can't control anyway. When you realize that you are not that important to the world, you finally become free to be important to yourself. Stop living for the audience and start living for the actor. Look at the sand. In this image, the suitcase, the vessel of our experiences, is leaking. This represents the physiological reality of the aging body that no one discusses until the leak becomes a flood. When you are in your 50s and 60s, you are in the maintenance phase of your biological life. Most people treat their health like a suitcase they can just overstuff without consequence. You think you can carry the stress of a high-pressure job, the weight of a poor diet, and the rust of a sedentary lifestyle. But the seams are stretching. I remember being 65 and thinking I was fine because I didn't have a diagnosis. But fine is the waiting room for failure. Every day you don't move, every day you choose the processed convenience over the living nutrient, you are poking a hole in that suitcase. By the time I hit 80, I realized that my vitality wasn't something I owned. It was something I was renting, and the rent was due every single morning in the form of discipline. If you don't pay the rent today, the landlord of time will evict you from your mobility tomorrow. Look at the sand. In this image, the suitcase, the vessel of our experiences, is leaking. This represents the physiological reality of the aging body that no one discusses until the leak becomes a flood. When you are in your 50s and 60s, you are in the maintenance phase of your biological life. Most people treat their health like a suitcase they can just overstuff without consequence. You think you can carry the stress of a high-pressure job, the weight of a poor diet, and the rust of a sedentary lifestyle. But the seams are stretching. I remember being 65 and thinking I was fine because I didn't have a diagnosis. But fine is the waiting room for failure. Every day you don't move, every day you choose the processed convenience over the living nutrient, you are poking a hole in that suitcase. By the time I hit 80, I realized that my vitality wasn't something I owned. It was something I was renting, and the rent was due every single morning in the form of discipline. If you don't pay the rent today, the landlord of time will evict you from your mobility tomorrow. The junkyard is the final destination for 99% of your anxieties. Think about the luxury you're chasing. The high-end sedan with the leather seats that you work overtime to afford. Right now, as you listen to this, there is a car exactly like it sitting in a scrap heap, being picked apart by crows. We sacrifice our peace of mind for objects that are destined to become future trash. I once bought a watch that cost as much as a small house. I thought it meant I had arrived. But as the years passed, that watch didn't make the time go any slower. It didn't make my children laugh louder. In fact, I was so worried about scratching it that I stopped playing with them in the yard. I had traded the experience of time for a device that measured its loss. When you realize that your stuff is just a weight you have to carry, you start to travel much lighter. At 92, the only things I own that have value are my memories and my ability to still take a deep breath of mountain air. Everything else is just clutter waiting for the dumpster. Let's talk about that 1979 trophy again. It represents the comparison trap. We live in an era where you are constantly being shown the highlight reels of everyone else's lives. Back in my day, we only had to worry about the Joneses next door. Today, the Joneses are on your phone, in your pocket, 24 hours a day. We are competing with a global audience for status that doesn't exist. That Businessman of the Year award felt like gold when I held it, but it was hollow. It didn't care that I had a headache. It didn't care that my back ached. It was a cold, metallic lie. Applause is a fleeting noise, but a quiet home is a permanent sanctuary. If you are seeking validation from a crowd that doesn't know your middle name, you are wasting your spirit. The only person you should be trying to impress is the 10-year-old version of yourself who had big dreams, and the 80-year-old version of yourself who will have to live with the consequences of your choices today. I have attended more funerals than weddings at this stage of my life. And I want to tell you something about the silence of a cemetery. It is the most honest place on earth. In a cemetery, no one cares about your LinkedIn profile. No one cares how many followers you had or what your credit score was. The U-Haul doesn't follow the hearse because there is nothing in that trailer that can help you on the other side. What people talk about at funerals are the small things. They talk about the way you listened. They talk about the way you made them feel safe. They talk about your sense of humor. They never, not once, talk about your spreadsheets. If you are spending 90% of your energy on the things people won't talk about at your funeral, you are misallocating your life's capital. You are a biological entity in a spiritual world, and you are treating yourself like a data point in a corporate ledger. Stop. Look at the fog in that image. That is how quickly a life disappears. Don't leave your best self in the later folder. The ego is a stone statue that we spend our lives polishing. We are terrified of being judged. But let me tell you a secret that only comes with extreme age. Most people are too busy drowning in their own insecurities to even notice yours. You are worried about your gray hair, your belly, or your failed business, while the person next to you is worried about their own gray hair, their own belly, and their own failures. We are all extras in each other's movies, but we think we are the lead actors in everyone's. The day you stop caring what others think is the day you finally start living for yourself. Killing your ego is the ultimate health hack. Why? Because stress is the #1 accelerator of aging. Cortisol, the stress hormone, eats your muscles, thins your skin, and inflames your heart. And what causes the most stress? The ego's fear of not being enough. When you drop the statue, your cortisol drops with it. You breathe deeper. You sleep better. You live longer. The last time. This is a meditation that will change your life. Think of something you do every day. Maybe it's pouring a cup of coffee. Maybe it's kissing your spouse goodbye. Maybe it's walking the dog. Now, realize that there will be a day, a specific date on the calendar, when you will do that thing for the very last time. And the kicker? You likely won't know it's the last time while it's happening. I remember the last time I was able to run. I didn't think, this is my final jog. I just thought, I'm tired today, I'll go harder tomorrow. But tomorrow never came for my knees. If you live with the awareness of the last time, every moment becomes saturated with color. The coffee tastes better. The hug lasts longer. The sunset is more meaningful. It moves you from a state of existing to a state of experiencing. Most people are numb to their lives because they assume the supply of moments is infinite. It isn't. When you realize the bottle is almost empty, every drop becomes a diamond. The smartphone is the greatest thief of the 21st century. It doesn't just steal your time, it steals your presence. I see people sitting in beautiful parks, under ancient trees, staring at a 4-inch piece of plastic. They are scrolling through the lives of strangers while their own life, the only one they actually get to live, is passing them by. A screen is a window that shows you everything but lets you feel nothing. When you are on your phone, you are in a non-place. You aren't in the room with your grandchildren. You aren't in the garden with the birds. You are in a digital void designed to harvest your attention for profit. I urge you, put it down. Go outside. Feel the wind on your skin. Experience the boredom of a long walk. It is in that boredom that your soul finally has a chance to speak to you. In the silence, you find the answers that Google can't provide. At 92, I can tell you that I never look back and wish I'd spent more time on Facebook. I wish I'd spent more time looking at the real horizon. Connection is the ultimate longevity supplement. We are social animals, yet as we age, we tend to let our circles shrink. We hold on to old grudges. We wait for the other person to call first. We let busyness get in the way of a simple cup of water with a friend. Scientific studies on blue zones, places where people live the longest, show that it's not just the diet or the exercise. It's the MOI, the social support group. Loneliness is as physically damaging as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It causes systemic inflammation and accelerates cognitive decline. I've survived my wife, my brother, and most of my friends. What I would give for one more hour of unproductive conversation with them. Forgive the enemy. Reach out to the estranged child. Say, I love you first. Don't let your pride keep you lonely in a house full of memories. Your heart needs other hearts to keep its rhythm. Look at the person standing still in the crowd. That is the wake up. Most people are living in a state of waking sleep. They follow the same routines, think the same thoughts, and eat the same foods every day for 40 years, and then they wonder where their life went. They are on autopilot. To live to be 92 with your mind intact, you must break the autopilot. You must seek novelty. You must learn new things, even when it's hard. You must look at a single flower with the intensity of a scientist. To be bored is to be ungrateful for the miracle of existence. Every morning you wake up is a victory. Every breath is a gift. If you aren't marveling at the fact that you are a collection of stardust walking around on a spinning rock in the middle of an infinite vacuum, you aren't paying attention. Wake up to the textures, the smells, and the sounds of your life. Don't let your life run out empty because you were too busy waiting for something big to happen. The big thing is happening right now in your chest. The hourglass in this image is a paradox. Notice how the bottom bulb isn't just catching sand, it's growing life. This is the secret of the second spring. Most people view aging as a process of subtraction, losing hair, losing speed, losing memory. But if you shift your perspective, aging is a process of refinement. You are distilling the chaotic noise of youth into the potent signal of wisdom. At 92, I don't have the physical strength I had at 30, but I have a mental clarity that my 30-year-old self would have envied. I spent my youth trying to build a mountain, only to realize in my senior years that I am the mountain. The sand falling through the neck is the cost of the growth happening below. When you stop fighting the passage of time and start honoring the growth it provides, your fear of death begins to dissolve. You realize you aren't a victim of the clock. You are the gardener of your own legacy. Every grain of sand is a seed. What are you planting in your lower bulb today? Is it resentment, or is it a garden of peace that will shade those who come after you? Look closely at the hands holding that photograph. They are trembling, not just from age, but from the sheer weight of the memory. This is the archive of the heart. We spend our lives taking photos of our vacations, our meals, and our milestones, but we rarely take internal snapshots. The eyes see the world, but the heart records the truth. When you reach my age, your physical world shrinks to the size of a few rooms, but your internal world becomes vast. I can sit in my chair for 4 hours and travel across continents just by closing my eyes. But here is the warning. You can only travel to the places you actually went. If you spent your life planning to go, your mental archive will be empty. If you spent your life waiting to tell someone you love them, that room in your heart will be silent. You are the curator of your own final gallery. Every risk you take now, every bold yes you utter in your 60s and 70s, is a vibrant painting you are hanging on the wall of your 90-year-old mind. Don't leave your walls bare. The hospital monitor is the ultimate truth teller. It doesn't care about your politics, your religion, or your bank balance. It only cares about the rhythm. Notice how the flat, mechanical line of the heart rate transforms into a mountain path. This represents the biological journey. Your health is not a destination you reach. It is a path you walk every single day. I have seen people in their 80s who can outwalk men in their 50s because they treated their bodies like a sacred vessel rather than a rental car. We are the only species that intentionally poisons itself for pleasure. We eat the slow death of processed sugar and sedentary comfort, and then we act surprised when the monitor starts to falter. Your body is the only house you will ever truly live in. You can move to a new city, buy a new mansion, or change your clothes, but you cannot move out of your skin. Treat your cells with the respect they deserve. Feed them light, move them through the air, and give them the rest they need to repair the damage of the world. The golden key on the old book represents the unlocking of meaning. Many of you watching this feel a sense of quiet desperation. You've checked all the boxes, the career, the family, the retirement. Yet, you feel like something is missing. That's because you are trying to open a spiritual door with a material key. The soul cannot be fed with what the wallet can buy. At 92, I find more nourishment in a single verse of a poem or a quiet moment of prayer than I ever found in a corporate bonus. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, not the other way around. If you are neglecting your inner life, your connection to the infinite, the divine, or the simply unseen, you are starving the very part of you that survives the hourglass. This isn't about religion, it's about recognition. It's about recognizing that you are part of a vast, beautiful, and mysterious tapestry. When you find that key, the fear of the end disappears because you realize there is no end, only a transition to a different room. I want you to look at the man dancing in the tuxedo. He is alone, but he is not lonely. He is celebrating the fact that he is still in the dance. This is the elegance of autonomy. One of the greatest fears of aging is the loss of independence, the fear of being a burden. But I want to reframe that for you. Being a burden is a state of mind. My children help me now, yes. They help with the groceries and the heavy lifting. But I am not a burden. I am a bridge. I am the bridge between their future and the past. By allowing them to care for me, I am giving them the gift of practicing their own humanity. But to stay in the dance, you must maintain the machinery of your joy. You must keep your spirit limber. If you stop dancing, mentally, socially, or physically, you become rigid. And rigidity is the precursor to breakage. Dance while the music is playing, even if you're the only one who can hear it. Dance in the kitchen, dance in your mind, and never, ever let the world tell you that you're too old to move to the rhythm of life. The mirror is a liar. It only shows you the surface. When I look in the mirror, I see the 92-year-old face, the spots, the wrinkles, the thinning hair. But when I look into my own eyes, I see the 6-year-old boy who was amazed by fireflies. I see the 20-year-old man who was terrified on his wedding day. I see the 40-year-old father who was exhausted but proud. Age is a suit of clothes that the soul wears for a season. You are not your age. You are the sum total of every age you have ever been. When you realize this, you stop mourning your youth and start celebrating your wholeness. You aren't losing your young self. You are carrying him or her with you into the sunset. If you treat your younger self with compassion, your older self will feel the warmth. Stop fighting the wrinkles. They are just the map of where you've been. Start honoring the person who lived through the storms that created those lines. You are a masterpiece in progress, even on the final day. The row of shoes tells the story of a completed walk. From the tiny booties, to the scuffed work boots, to the soft slippers of the sunset years. Each pair represents a different self. We often get stuck in one pair of shoes. We think we are the worker, or we are the provider. But those are just roles. I spent 30 years in the work boots, and when it was time to take them off, I felt lost. I didn't know who Frank was without the boots. This is the identity crisis of retirement. If you define yourself by what you do, you will feel empty when you can no longer do it. But if you define yourself by who you are, by your character, your kindness, and your curiosity, then you can change shoes without losing your soul. I wear the slippers now, and they are the most comfortable shoes I've ever owned. They allow me to move slowly, to notice the cracks in the pavement, and to appreciate the ground I'm standing on. Don't be afraid to take off the boots. The walk isn't over, it's just changing pace. Nature always wins. Look at the vines reclaiming the office. This is a beautiful reminder of the natural order. We spend so much energy trying to conquer nature, to pave over it, to build steel monuments to our own importance. But nature is patient. She knows that eventually, everything returns to the earth. This shouldn't be a scary thought. It's a homecoming. We are not separate from the earth. We are the earth's way of looking at itself. When you align your lifestyle with the natural rhythms, the rising sun, the seasonal foods, the need for movement, you stop swimming against the current. You find that your body has an ancient wisdom that knows how to heal if you just get out of its way. Stop trying to hack your biology with synthetic shortcuts and start listening to the vines. What is your body telling you? It's likely asking for more water, more sunlight, and more peace. The office is temporary. The garden is eternal. Choose the garden. The interlocking hands of the young and the old. This is the great exchange. The young provide the strength. The old provide the direction. Without the young, the old are stuck. Without the old, the young are lost. We live in a society that segregates the generations. We put the old in homes and the young in daycares, and both suffer for it. The young lose the wisdom of the elders, and the elders lose the vitality of the youth. I make it a point to talk to people in their 20s. I don't give them advice they didn't ask for. I just listen to their fire. And in return, I show them my embers. I show them that you can survive the fires of life and still have enough warmth to share. If you are an elder, find a young hand to hold. If you are young, seek out the weathered hand. There is a transfusion of spirit that happens in that grip that no medicine can replicate. It is how we stay human in a digital world. The ocean at sunrise is a mirror of the infinite. It reminds us that our problems are small, but our impact is large. A single pebble thrown into that ocean creates ripples that touch every shore. Your life is that pebble. You might think you're small, life doesn't matter, but the way you treated the cashier today, the way you forgave your brother, the way you took care of your health, those are ripples that travel through time. You will never know the full extent of the good you have done, but the ocean remembers. At 92, I am at peace because I know I tried to make my ripples kind. I didn't always succeed, but I kept throwing the pebbles. As the sun rises on your final chapters, let the vastness of the world comfort you. You are part of something so large, so complex, and so beautiful that death is simply a dip beneath the surface of a much larger sea. You aren't disappearing, you are expanding. The to-do list in the trash. This is the final clearance. We spend our lives being productive. We have lists for the week, the month, the year. We are slaves to the checkbox. But look what sits on top of the trash, a simple note that says, I love you. That note is the only thing on the list that ever actually mattered. I wish I could go back to my 50-year-old self, standing over his planner, and knock it out of his hand. I would tell him, the things you are stressing about today won't even be a memory in a year. But the person standing next to you, the one you are ignoring to finish your list, they are your life. Shred the lists. Burn the schedules. Make presence your only priority. If you do nothing else today but sit in the sun and feel grateful for your heart's beating, you have had a productive day. The checkboxes are a lie designed to keep you from noticing the I love you notes life is leaving for you everywhere. The man in the rain is unbound. He has stopped trying to stay dry. He has realized that the rain is just as much a part of life as the sun. This is the stage of total acceptance. When you stop fighting the bad days, the pain, the grief, the weather, they lose their power over you. Resistance is the source of all suffering. Acceptance is the source of all peace. I used to complain about the rain. Now I stand in it. I feel the cold drops, and I marvel that I still have skin to feel them. I have nerves that can communicate the sensation of water to a brain that can process the beauty of a storm. What a miracle! If you are waiting for perfect conditions to be happy, you will die waiting. Happiness is the ability to dance in the downpour. It is the realization that you are waterproof on the inside. Let the world wash over you. Don't hide. Don't shrink. Stand tall in the storm of your life and say, thank you for the rain. The glowing door in the forest is the final invitation. We spend our lives running away from this door, boarding it up, and pretending it doesn't exist. But it is the most beautiful door in the house. It is the door to home. I am standing very close to this door now. I can see the light through the keyhole. And I want to tell you, it is not a dark room on the other side. It is a room of pure, blinding light. The closer I get, the less afraid I am. But I am in no hurry to open it, because the forest I am standing in is also beautiful. The trick is to live in the forest while being ready for the door. To love the world so much that it breaks your heart, but to trust the light so much that you aren't afraid of the break. Keep walking toward the light, but don't forget to smell the pine needles along the way. These are my final words to you from the age of 92. Most people exist, but very few truly live. To live is to be aware. To live is to be vital. It is to choose the difficult now over the easy later. It is to forgive yourself for being human and to forgive others for being the same. The tragedy of life is not that it ends so soon, but that we wait so long to begin it. You are standing at your own crossroads today. You can go back to the scroll, back to the list, back to the sedentary comfort. Or you can wake up. You can start the walk, eat the living food, say the words of love, and kill the ego that keeps you small. Don't let your life run out empty. Fill it until it overflows, so that when you finally reach your 92nd year, you can look back at the sunset and say, I didn't just watch the show. I was the show. This is Frank for the Wisecast. Start living. Right now.